The Bengals wrapped up training camp on Wednesday afternoon in what has been a long stretch here. I think for all of us, right? You guys following Joe Burrow and the good and the bad, the Ja'Marr Chase drops, and so much more. Plus, my guy Andrew Miller and myself, well, we need a little shut-eye. But the good news is while we rest up on Thursday, Friday, there is preseason game number 2. So let's recap training camp a little bit here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk and then dive into what I'm looking for in week 2. First, with camp, it starts, it begins, it ends with number 9, Joe Burrow. I thought it was very clear from the start of camp to the middle of camp. By the end of camp, he looked like the normal Burrow, the guy you were expecting. And by normal, Burrow isn't normal. You never want him to look normal, right, compared to everybody else. But when you're talking about him, he's back to himself, which is what he said on Wednesday, an interview that you can watch right here on YouTube, here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. Look, it was going to take time. And in today's era of football, where you have people like me covering every second of it, well, there's going to be bad days. And there's going to be things that are pointed out that make headlines, struggles that Carson Palmer had when he was coming back in 2006, right, and practicing, that aren't going to be as big of a story. Yeah, they were documented then on newspaper, right? A newspaper document, a couple online articles here or there. But really, what do people remember from that? The week 3 preseason game when he came back and threw a bunch of touchdowns, 3 touchdowns against the Green Bay Packers. And everyone said, oh, he's good to go. And I do think Joe Burrow should play in the preseason. I think Joe's shown us a lot during practice and how he's evolved here. And so he's not going to play on Friday night, but looks much more comfortable. It is the guy I remember seeing. And look, whether it's the deep ball to CJ Uzomah, which I talked about on Locked On Bengals and I wrote about in depth at allbengals.com, or it's just how comfortable he looks delivering the ball to Ja'Marr Chase or T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd from the pocket. Remember early in camp? And we had this interview where Boyd was like, yeah, I still think he's a little iffy on his knee. And it was probably a poor choice of words from Boyd. But what Boyd meant is, yeah, Burrow's still filling it out. He's still trying to figure it out. And I think he has. So that's my number 1 training camp takeaway. I think he's going to be fine. Now, as far as the preseason goes, because why wouldn't we continue to talk about Burrow? I would absolutely play him week 3 of the preseason for one simple thing here. He didn't think he was going to have any issues getting used to life in the pocket again. That wasn't something that really clicked with him until he had to be in the pocket and was going in 11-on-11s and team drills. So while he may feel great right now, there may be a hurdle or two he needs to get past. And if he's 100% medically cleared and there's no risk there outside of just playing him and getting him out there, wouldn't you want to give him a couple reps, especially when Joe Burrow says, man, give me reps? He said it. He says he lobbies. He's been lobbying with Zach Taylor and the coaching staff. He knows it's not his decision, but he wants to play. So I would play him, 6 plays, 8 plays, depending. 1 drive, if you get an 8-play drive, 1 drive against the Miami Dolphins on August 29th. Other training camp takeaways. Let's stick with the offense. Ja'Marr Chase, look, he flashed his potential. There was plenty of separation on plenty of routes. There's plenty of different things that he can do better, including the drops. The drops, I wouldn't say they're a concern, but there's something worth noting because what I've tried to do as I take highlights, especially with the Chase drops, is I leave them in there so you see them as we post the highlights because I want you to have a better and clear and accurate picture when it comes to everything that's going on in training camp. So, yeah, we call them highlights, but sometimes that's a Chidobe Awuzie pass breakup, and it doesn't result in a touchdown, right? Sometimes that's Jessie Bates stripping Chase, which happened at the start of camp. But I think there's certainly a difference in Chase, and it is going to be interesting to see if the drop thing continues in games or if this is just a practice thing where he's working on certain things, and sometimes he has those concentration lapses. I mean, some of the greatest receivers in NFL history had drop issues. Terrell Owens was one of them. Another one would be Julio Jones, who Ja'Marr Chase was compared to pre-draft from a lot of people. A shorter Julio Jones, but still Julio Jones. So we'll see there. I'm excited to see him on Friday night against Washington. And outside of that, obviously, we have the questions about the offensive line, and we'll get into more of that when we preview Washington the Washington game in just a second. But on defense, extremely impressed with what I saw in camp from Lou Anarumo's defense. Will it translate? That's the question. But impressed to say the least. I mean, Awuzie, already mentioned him, the best corner on the team during camp. Easily the best corner on the team. Flashed, went up against Jamar, went up against T. Trey Williams is pretty good. He was. And while they're paying him to be the number one, I don't think you necessarily need him to be the number one. You want a bunch of 1A type guys, and I think they have that. And someone asked about Mike Hilton recently. Mike Hilton has made some plays, but his game is blitzing. His game is playmaking and hitting and forcing it that way. Well, they're not hitting in practice. He's not blitzing much in practice. They're not going to do a lot of that, and so to me, they'll work on it and they'll do walkthroughs and stuff, but they know he can blitz. So I don't think we've seen anywhere near or scratch the surface of what Mike Hilton is going to bring to this defense. Obviously, the big question mark from a talent standpoint is on the first and second levels of the defense. Will they be able to get enough pressure on the defensive line and then these linebackers? I think Logan Wilson looks good. Germaine Pratt flying around. I do wonder if Akeem Davis-Gaither and Marcus Bailey by the end of the year ends up taking Germaine Pratt's job. I don't think that's going to happen week one. I think that your two starters are Wilson and Pratt. And to me, Wilson looks the part, and I wonder if he's going to have a big season. Certainly good stuff there. But my concern overall would just as a whole when looking at the defense, who's the star that's going to make the play? Is it Jessie Bates? Because it's really hard for the safety to do that. Right, if you're T.J. Watt, you can do that. J.J. Watt back in the day for the Texans, you can do that. Myles Garrett is certainly capable of doing that. Is it Trey Hendrickson? Maybe. I watch him beat Jonah Williams in one-on-ones a couple times the other day, and so we'll see there. But that is the big question mark for me on this defense. I think there's a lot of good, and then there's some question marks at linebacker, question marks on the defensive line. Is there great? And yeah, you would say Jessie Bates, right? Is that enough? Just having a great safety in today's game? Or can defenses simply scheme around a guy like that and kind of limit his effectiveness? On offense, look, I think overall it was good. They gradually got better, much like Burrow, and I think it was a successful training camp. And it's just going to come down to the offensive line, which let's dive into what I'm looking for on Friday against Washington. It is the offensive line. In fact, I don't give a damn about any of these other position battles. Punt returner, that'll work itself out. Backup running back, that'll work itself out. Wide receiver, that'll work itself out. And I'll probably have a future video breaking down all of those, right? Mike Thomas, Trent Irwin, Trent Taylor, does Pooka Williams get in the mix? He's healthy this week and is expected to play. Chris Evans, Jacquez Patrick, are they going to make sure that Trayveon Williams doesn't make this team with another really good performance with Williams out with the hamstring? I mean, we can dive into all that, and I will in a second here, at least some of the injuries and things like that for Friday. But the offensive line is where it starts. Who is going to be the starting offensive line? Will Trey Hopkins get any preseason snaps? It didn't sound like Zach Taylor was too keen on doing that. So is Billy Price your starting center week one? And if that's the case, make your Billy Price face, even though he did flash some potential week one against the Bucs last week in the preseason. Are you really excited about that? What about Xavier Su'a-Filo? Is he going to be able to beat out Michael Jordan for that right guard job? What about Quentin Spain? Can he do that and beat out Deontay Smith, who might be out on Friday night due to dehydration issues, did not practice on Wednesday. So we'll see there. It's a battle, and it stinks because I keep going back to not the draft like everybody talks about, because I think Penei Sewell's going to have his fair share of struggles and up and down play this year, but free agency. They could have went and got proven guys in free agency. They did in Riley Reiff. Notice how I didn't bring up the right tackle? If you would have brought in one more proven guy at guard, then it would have been like, okay, Spain, Su'a-Filo, all these guys can battle for the other guard spot, and you feel pretty good about it because it's a bunch of veterans and a bunch of young guys. And I haven't mentioned Jackson Carman yet because I don't think he's really in the running anymore for a starting job. Could be wrong. Maybe he has a great game on Friday night. I just don't see it at this stage. So overall, on Friday, that's the key to me. Can you figure out this offensive line? Because you need to figure it out. And if you don't, I said I wanted Burrow to play against Miami. If they don't have a starting offensive line set and they're rotating, I don't think you can put Burrow in. You can't be rotating guys and then put Burrow back there. That's why I want to figure out this offensive line and get that shored up now, not tomorrow, not next day, now. And unfortunately, it is likely going to be Friday or beyond. The competition expected to last quite some time. All right, so as far as injuries go, Trayveon Williams is out. Pooka Williams is back. I think that's going to be an interesting one. Guys like Eli Apple not going to play. Ricardo Allen not going to play. Both dealing with hamstring injuries. It's okay, though. They practiced this week after missing last week. I think they're both locks to make the team, so no real concerns there. The other thing I'm going to be looking for here is what happens in the back end of a lot of these rooms, right? Darius Hodge flashed. Can Darius Hodge continue to flash with Khalid Kareem out again this week? Is that something that he's going to be able to do? Will Renell Wren show people that he can get back to his pre-injury form? There's a lot of guys like that you wonder about. Trent Taylor, does he need to show something as a wide receiver, not just a punt returner, but as a wide receiver in a game? He's done it in practice, but in a game to beat out Trent Irwin. Is Mike Thomas really in danger of being released? There's been a couple people that have tossed that out there. I think a lot of fans have tossed that out there on social media. I don't see it. I still think he's probably the fifth wide receiver. I could also be dead wrong, but to me, he's a better receiver than what you're talking about with some of these other guys, but it may come down to special teams as well. And the last thing, the kicker battle, it's not a battle anymore. I think Evan McPherson already won it. They're going to continue to rotate, and I think that's smart because you want people to see Austin Seibert because maybe you can get a draft pick for him during cut down day or right before cut down day. But yeah, Evan McPherson, probably the MVP of camp. He's been great, amazing. I think he's missed 3 or 4 kicks overall, so he's a lot of fun to watch as well. Here's what I do know. We're going to have you covered all season long, obviously all preseason long, and on Friday night, Saturday, all weekend long from right here at Cincinnati Bengals Talk headquarters. That's what we're going to call it. Plus, on Sunday, the Bengals will be back at practice, and I'll be there then as well. So, as always, thank you so much for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe, tell all of your friends about Cincinnati Bengals Talk because we are just getting started. You won't believe what we have coming your way in the near future between now and the start of the regular season. Until then, I'm James Rapien. Thank you so much for watching.